I want to welcome you to the Hazel Park Amateur Radio Club, our February meeting for 2026. Okay, you folks would rise and we'll have the pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we hit that to go to the next slide, this to go back. So, right to go forward.
Gotcha. Well, I want to thank the library for letting us use this room, and they've been a good host for us. I got to let you know that Joe is on his way out of town. If he hasn't arrived already, taking care of some family business. So yours truly is got the honors today, and we're glad to do it. This is our board members, our president Joe, myself, and Andrew, and our treasurer Bob, back in the back there. Our secretary Ruben is here, and our parliamentarian is here, and our director Dave is probably on business. He's travels quite a bit. I don't know how he does it, but he does it. Okay, let's now we got our member roll call, and how we do this is I'll start it out. Andrew will do it, and then we'll, after we've gone through the groom here, then we'll let the ones on Zoom take part. So my name is Leonard. My call sign is AD8FK, and if you don't have a call sign, just say you don't have a call sign. We've got several new people here. So Andrew.
Andrew, AJ0WX, Les KFAUU, Ruben, KB3EXW, W is Bravo, Papa Alpha,
Right.
N8 RLN, Brian.
John, 81IX.
This is Bill, N8QBS.
Larry, KD8LSA.
Art, no call sign.
Mike, KD8HC.
88 FEP.
Ron, WDA, ATZ.
JN8QYQ.
Jerry, W9NPI. Chuck, no call sign.
Wes, ACHJF.
Brian, Whiskey 8, Bravo, Papa, Delta.
Bob, N8REL. 10, Kilo Echo 8, Sierra, Juliet Whiskey.
Catherine, no call sign.
Hugh, KE8, DED.
Very good, Hugh. Okay, do we have some people online? I don't know if we can hear them or not. Let's try it. It should come through. So,
Al, K8LH.
thank you, Al.
Art, K8ACW.
Art,
Mark, W8MAF.
Dennis, KB8CS.
thank you, Dennis.
Tom, Kilo Echo 8, Romeo Mike Kilo.
And Tom is, I think Tom's the last one. Glad that each one of you are joining us.
WTOY.
Oh, yes. Don't forget John.
PHP.
Say that one again.
Jeff, Kilo Alpha 8, Papa, Hotel, Papa.
Ah, thank you, Jeff. Okay, I think that's it. Well, very good. Now is the time we sort of go over our committees. I don't know if there's any, I don't have anything prepared. Any committee chair people that have something they'd like to share?
Yeah, if I could.
Yes, Bob.
Okay. For education, we are going to need some new volunteers on that, especially for the general class. Now, we won't be doing a general class again until September, but one of our stalwart instructors is retiring from instructing, so we will need another one for there. We should also have another one for technician class. And that's about it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Fantastic job running the education committee, being treasurer and whoever else we can pile on them, But coming up here is, well, I guess now's as good a time as any. We do need help run the club and the activities, and we would appreciate if you would. We don't want to just draft some, although we may approach you if if you don't volunteer and ask for help. If you want a good way of stepping in, if you're new to the group, just be a part of one of these committees. And Bob, you met him. He's the education and the finance. And I'm on the mentoring committee, and you get a chance to work with new hams and to help anybody that needs help in the club with their group. And John does the contesting and AAHUU. He also is in charge of field day, as you see down below that. And John TOY, you see on here, he's operating the Zoom right now, the technical aspect of it. Wes, back there, he helps with the software. And we talked about Bob, and there's 8 other volunteer positions available. The Zero Beat newsletter, N8VDZ, he's not here tonight, but he does keep track of the newsletter. If you'd like to be an editor, he would appreciate some help. And of course, the repeater committee we have a good staff on that right now. But if that's of interest, talk to us. And we have a nominating committee that needs some help. And if you'd like to be a part of the leadership of the club, talk to us. We'd like to have you step in, especially if you have leadership experience in other areas, your work or church or whatever other areas you've got some experience. Siren committee, again, VB. And then the banquet committee is coming up. We have some interest in that. Swap meet, if we ever get the swap meet going again, that's an open position. And Bob will help give you direction on that. Picnic committee every summer. How many here have attended a picnic? Good. We hope. I knew you have. Bill, either raise your hand. Bill's our cook and has done our cooking at the picnic. So, okay, holiday committee. Okay, that's about it. Let's go on down here. And Bob mentioned about the license classes. And now we come to the heart of our meeting tonight, and that is our presentation, which is part of our educational process. And we have our vice president that is going to make a presentation. You introduce yourself. Andrew is an engineer with, I think, Chrysler. Yeah. He's got a fantastic background. He is the heart of our repeater committee right now. He's the brawn and the brains of it. And we're here to support him. And we've come a long ways. We got the cabinet made up. Sometime we may show some pictures of that. It is a first-class system that we can all be proud of. So, Andrew, take it away.
I think the presentation's a little bit out of order, so got to go through a whole bunch here. Okay. As Len mentioned, my name's Andrew Johnson. I've been working on the new repeater. So one of the major changes is going to be the transition from how it kind of currently operates to using ALLSTAR for a lot of the voting and control functions. So this presentation will kind of give a introduction to what ALLSTAR is, how it's going to be implemented on our new repeater, and how you can use it once we do get the new repeater up and running.
Hey, Andrew, the screen is not changed. You're not sharing your screen, Andrew.
I'm seeing it says basics of ALLSTAR right now.
Yeah.
I'm receiving it.
Yeah. Methods to link systems, methods to link ham systems. It's on there.
I see Andrew in full screen and the screen behind him. That's all I see is
Go-
Andrew's face.
Go up to the top of your screen, Al, and hit that little down arrow that's at the top of your screen.
Okay, that must be something new. Alrighty, thank you.
Yep. So to kind of start, what is ALLSTAR at a very high level? ALLSTAR is a method to link repeater systems. So there's a couple different ways you can link repeater systems. The first is fully digital. So that's your DMR, where as soon as you key up, it goes out over the air as a digital signal. It gets received as a digital signal, sent over the internet as a digital signal, and comes out the other end digitally. That's like our System Fusion, D-Star, DMR, all of that. We'll kind of skip to the bottom here and go analog over analog radio. That's how our current repeater is set up for the voting, where it comes out of your radio as analog. It gets picked up by a remote receiver as analog, rebroadcast by that analog, and it's analog all the way. It's kind of a limited distance, and with each hop you take, you lose more and more signal. As many of you know, that's kind of been an issue with the DART with the voter. So one of the things that could kind of address that is analog over IP. And what analog over IP is it's the same radio you use today that goes out analog to the radio. There's a computer on the other end of the connection that's hooked up to the repeater that actually digitizes that analog signal and then allows it to be routed out, through an IP network or the internet itself. You could add internet, you could connect to a PC, connect to a smartphone, and some examples of that are Echolink, IRLP, and ALLSTAR. So kind of drilling down into that, analog over IP. IRLP is a radio to radio only, and it's only run by one guy. So it's not as open source. If he decides to turn everything off, you might not have access to the network anymore. The second is Echolink, which we do have on our repeater today. It's really good for those that, might not have a radio yet. They could get on with the app on their smartphone, talk on our repeater, talk around the world on other repeaters. It's really good in terms of the smartphone interface. I think it's the best out of between ALLSTAR and Echolink. However, it does require having a computer at the site where you're trying to, connect to Echolink. ALLSTAR kind of has some of the same functionality. It's not as good to use on the computer or over the phone, but it's amazing voice quality and it's really good for repeater to repeater links. And the best part is these two you can use on the same computer. So instead of having to have a ALLSTAR computer and a Echolink computer, you just have both of them running as programs on one computer. So what is ALLSTAR itself? Well, for those of you that have worked with PBXs or private branch exchanges, it's basically the phone systems that big companies use, right? Where you say, do you know the extension you want to dial? Press 1 for more information. Press 2 to be transferred to an operator. That's all handled by the PBX software. So Asterisk is an open source PBX software, and it's actually used a lot in business and industry right now to kind of do all that. So some very smart people took that software, added the radio interface layer on top to support stuff that's needed for radio work, and that's kind of ALLSTAR. So at a very high level, it's essentially a telephone-esque linking system for radios is the easiest way to think about it. It does need to run on a Linux computer, so there is some like a learning curve if you're not familiar with Linux. And it could also perform controller and voting functions. So it used to be you'd have to have separate equipment for all of those functions. Now it could all be on one computer. So more about ALLSTAR. When this presentation was made, it was about 1,500 nodes. Now there's over 10,000. I think I just checked it like right before the meeting. It's up to like 12,000 and something active nodes right now. So there's definitely been a huge explosion in popularity, which is really cool. Since it's completely open, you're not beholden to whatever, like the project manager wants. If you wanted to add, like if you built your own node and wanted to add DMR support, you could do that. You can make your own simplex node. So if you wanted to connect to the ALLSTAR network, say you had a cabin up north that, there's no cell service, but you have an internet connection at the cabin, you could put a simplex node on that. And then, for a couple miles around, you'd be able to dial into the ALLSTAR network. There's some huge networks statewide, as well as, local networks. And we're going to use it kind of as our interconnectivity. So this is a diagram on how ALLSTAR works. So you can see here, at the bottom is kind of what you're normally used to. You have your radio, you can key up, the repeater will repeat it to another radio. Where ALLSTAR comes in is you can see the purple arrows pointing to the computer. So it'll take that signal, the computer will take that, route it out over the internet to other repeaters, depending on how you have the system connected. So the summary of linking, we're focused on linking the analog radios to analog radios. There's nothing wrong with DMR. It's a great thing, but our repeater is analog. We want to make sure that everyone doesn't have to, run out and get a new DMR radio. VHF around here is mostly analog anyway, so we're kind of sticking with analog. ALLSTAR is really good for linking repeaters to other repeaters, but it's not so user-friendly when it comes to like the smartphone use. But Echolink is really good with that, so we're going to use both. So more on that on our local project. So this is kind of how we're specifically implementing it. Kind of who, what, when, where, why. Kind of the DART team is rebuilding the DART repeater with the grant we got from ARDC. And we're going to convert the remote receive sites eventually to a microwave IP link. For now, we're just going to use the plain old internet. And that way, instead of having the noise come in on the voter links, ideally everyone's going to sound just as good as they sound coming into the receive site. Why? Because we can. It's cool. We got a grant for it. And the FCC wants hams to contribute to the state of the art of radio communication. So some basics on our connectivity philosophy. So we kind of split it between user connectivity and repeater to repeater connectivity. For user connectivity, it's ham radio, so their primary mode of entry is going to be RF. Your HTs or mobiles that you normally have. We do want to add Echolink though, because it is a really good option, and we do have a lot of people that check in via Echolink. So we are going to keep that. One other thing that we're going to add is streaming audio to Broadcastify, which is a kind of a radio scanner website. So if anyone worldwide wants to listen in, they can just go in and do that. Right, so we'll kind of expand our reach. If someone's, looking at police scanners and they say, "Oh, what's this?" W8HP. They'll hear our net and all that. Repeater to repeater is going to be ALLSTAR to serve RF users, since it's ham radio. It works via the internet, or we could also use our own private IP link once that's available. And it is nice and flexible, right? We're not beholden to just having one or two different configurations. Everyone will be able to connect to whatever repeater they want, assuming that, someone's not already using it. So this is a very simplified diagram of our repeater and how it works. So you can see here, the repeater will kind of be the only thing that transmits. So however far you can hear with it transmitting at 100 watts is the range. However, we will have a remote receive site. So if you're kind of far away from the main site, you could still get into the system. If you're closer to like 12 and Hoover or City Airport, those sites can pick you up and send your audio back to the main site. There is a module called the Radio Thin Client Module, or RTCM, that takes the analog audio from the radio, or the repeater, digitizes it, encapsulates it in an IP packet, and then sends it to the ALLSTAR Linux PC. And then from there, it gets sent over the internet to other repeaters, or if it's in the case of the voter, it's just the voting audio stream that comes over. And in the next couple of slides, we'll go over how the voting works. So this is how we get the signal from the radio to the PC. If you look at the left, you can see the RX audio and PL detect. So the radio will be transmitting the audio, and whether or not it sees the right PL tone. And if the RTCM sees all of that, it'll take that information, digitize it, send it over the in-cabinet network to the computer, where the computer will do, what it needs to do to determine, what audio stream should I be playing. Am I going to play one of the voted audio streams? Am I going to put out Echo Link, announcement, station ID? So all of that audio gets arbitrated and then sent back through the network, back to the RTCM, where the RTCM converts it from digital back to analog, keys up the repeater, and then transmits it. And I am happy to report last Saturday when we were working on it, we did get that working. So, you could key up and talk into one radio, and then, having another radio, you'll hear the repeater in your voice, with about a half-second delay. So all of that seems to be working just fine, along with the announcements. So that's a good, good progress announcement. So looking into the voting specifically, we'll kind of take a few steps back and say, what is a voted repeater? As you know, a repeater can only repeat a signal that it can hear. So with our location at 10 in Southfield, if you're on, if you're at Lake St. Clair and you key up, it might not be able to hear you. And, most handhelds, you don't have the height on the antenna, you don't have a lot of power, and you don't have a lot of gain on your antenna. So your signal might not be able to make it all the way back. However, if we add a receiver that's kind of closer to where you're at, there's a better chance of your signal getting into the system, and then the repeater can hear you. However, you could also have the situation where you're heard by multiple sites. In that case, the system has to know, what's the best signal to use. It doesn't want to just do the first thing it hears, because it might be the worst signal. So voting is the process of determining, what signal should I use and should I rebroadcast. So there's just some different methods of voting. So the simplest is you just look at whatever signal has the least noise and choose that one. A little bit more advanced is to look at both the signal and the noise and choose the one with the best ratio. ALLSTAR with the RTCM hardware measures the signal at the receive sites and then sends that both the audio as well as that measured signal strength data over the IP link. So instead of trying to vote on a signal that's been through a couple different radios, you're voting on the signal strength as it's heard, and that makes it a lot clearer and a lot less susceptible to interference or bouncing between the different receive sites. So this is kind of how our current voter works. Theoretically, perfect signal will only have stuff in the vocal range, so below 4 kilohertz. And as you get more and more noise, you have more and more of a high frequency component. So the way that the current repeater works, it just looks for the noise or the signal with the lowest high frequency noise component and assumes that's the best. That's not always, usually that's the case, but sometimes you might run into issues. You might have noise that's being introduced on the RF link rather than that's coming into the remote site. So that's kind of where the drawback is. So IP voting uses the same principle as the noise voting. However, instead of measuring the signal to noise ratio at the main site, it does it at each individual site. So, at the airport or the hospital. And that avoids any influence by the transmission back to the main site. However, to do that, you have to make sure you're comparing, apples to apples and oranges to oranges. So each RTCM needs a GPS receiver to kind of timestamp the audio to ensure all of the clocks are synchronized. And that way you're comparing, your sample at time one to all your other samples at time one. You're not comparing a signal that came in 5 seconds ago to one that's coming in now. The IP link to send all that data back to the main site, it just could be any IP link. It could be Wi-Fi, Part 97, really anything that supports IP. You're not limited to any one transmission method. As long as you could put IP packets on it, you could use it. And then at the main site, you need a computer running ALLSTAR to determine what the best audio is and then send it to the repeater. So this is transporting the signal at each of our remote sites. You can see the diagram is almost exactly the same as it was for the repeater site. The only difference is this is receive only, so there's no audio output going out of the RTCM to the radio. It's just coming in from the remote receiver to the RTCM, out to the internet or whatever IP network we're using, and over to the main site. So this is kind of a diagram of how it works, like in general or in practice. So the ALLSTAR server will take all of the packets it gets from all of the different RTCMs. And as I mentioned before, you need the GPS to determine the timestamp. With IP networks, there's no guarantee that you're going to get all the data in order. You know, you might get the last packet first, and then the first packet, and then the second. So that GPS timestamp is how you could reorder everything to make sure you're playing the audio samples in the correct order. And each of those packets, in addition to the timestamp, will have the signal strength or RSSI, as well as the audio for that sample. So once you have all of these packets coming in, how do you determine, which one's the best? So first, ALLSTAR will put all of them in sequential order and then go through and it will choose the packet with the best signal strength to be rebroadcast. However, to keep the audio from bouncing back and forth to different streams, there is a minimum level. So it'll pick whatever signal is the strongest at first, and it'll lock onto that signal as long as that signal strength is above a certain threshold. So in the example here, it'll pick 75 because it's the strongest at first. It might drop down to 70, but assuming, we say anything over 60 is good, even though that other packet has a better signal strength, will stay on the original stream until it drops below a certain threshold, at which point we'll take whatever the best signal is again and, stick with that signal. And that's just, as I mentioned, to keep you from bouncing back and forth and having it switch. If you're at two, if you're getting in the same to kind of two sites, one's, between 70, 71, one's between 69 and 70, you don't want it to be hopping back and forth if the audio is pretty much the same. So now that, we have all of our signals coming in, how do we vote? So this is kind of just a diagram. You'll see we have two signals coming in, both the red and the purple. The voter is going to say, hey, I like the red signal the best, so that's the one I'm going to send back out. And you can see it'll send it back through the network to the RTCM as it goes out over the air. So control. Many repeaters use a separate controller board for a bunch of tasks. The station ID, playing announcements, linking and unlinking to other networks. Since ALLSTAR's primary purpose is linking audio sources, it makes more sense to just use ALLSTAR for all of that. You could schedule, since it's a full-fledged Linux computer, you could schedule scripts to run whenever. If you want to play an announcement at the top of every hour, every 15 minutes, or 2 o'clock in the morning every day, it's very easy to do. You can make it has a built-in text-to-speech, so it's pretty easy to script commands where you can say, at this time, say these words, and it'll go through and do that, with the pre-net announcements and stuff like that. And one thing to note, we did take the audio files that are currently on the Dart with the all the different call signs, saying their call sign, welcome to the Dart, and we have put those on the new computer. So those will still exist on the new system, just like they did on the old system. So I think the part that everyone's been waiting for, now that you kind of know what ALLSTAR is, how do you use it? And just remember, this is still contingent upon us getting the new repeater installed and activated and all that. If you try to dial this now, I don't know what's going to happen. So don't do that just yet. So the very, very, very most important thing to remember is you have to still ID properly, both on the radio or if you're using a computer or a phone. You're still going out on the air, even if you're on the computer or phone, so you still have to follow the FCC ID requirements. When you're entering commands, you could be transmitting on remote systems. So if if the repeater was already linked to another system and you key up the repeater, you could be going out over that link onto a remote system, anywhere in the world. So with that, it's a good idea to give your call sign before you start entering in the touch tone commands. There is a delay if you're on a computer or phone instead of a radio of about a second. I think it's more pronounced with Echolink. So those of you that know Echolink, I think, are aware of this, but you do have to leave a little bit of space between transmissions. When the link status changes, so if our local repeater is connected to a remote repeater, the courtesy tone at the end of the transmission will change. So instead of making like a beep, it'll make a boop. I don't know exactly what it'll sound like yet. We can modify it a little bit too. We can make it a Morse code letter or anything like that. So if anyone has any strong opinions one way or the other, let me know. It's really configurable. It takes 2 minutes to change, so it's not that big of a deal. If you do initiate a link to a remote node or hub, listen while it's linked, and when you're done with it, make sure you unlink, especially if it's busy, because if you leave it linked, anything that's on that node is going to be coming through our repeater as well. So how to use it, some more details from the radio. You could talk through a repeater that's already been linked by someone else, or you could tell the repeater to link to another system, and you do that by transmitting DTMF tones. And that's just with the keypad on the front of your radio. If it has it, you just key up the push to talk button and then dial the number like you would a phone. At least on my Yaesu, I assume it's like that on the other radios as well. If you want a little bit more convenient way to do it, you could use Echolink from a PC or a smartphone. And again, like I mentioned earlier, if you just want to listen in, we're going to be streaming on Broadcastify. So if you can't sleep at night, want to see what's going on, you could just pull it up on your phone and listen in. So from a PC or a smartphone, I'll kind of go over this quickly since I think everyone has used Echolink. Since any ham can use the radio to radio links, we kind of assume that there's no validation needed, because if you're transmitting, we assume you have a license. To connect with a computer or a smartphone, because anyone could, in theory, sign up for an account and log in, you do have to get your license validated by the ALLSTAR Echolink teams. And that just makes sure that, everyone that downloads the app and can connect to the network is a ham and, is able to transmit. Echolink, you just sign up for an Echolink account, they validate your license, you download the app, and you could use it. For ALLSTAR, you just would have to sign up for an account at allstarlink.org, and the team there just looks you up on QRZ. One thing to note, if you're only planning on talking on the repeater and linking to other repeaters, you don't need to request a node ID or a server ID. The only time you'll need a server ID or a node ID is if you wanted to build your own hotspot or local node so you can connect to ALLSTAR with wherever that node's at. So Echolink specifics, it does require the internet. So if the internet's down, there's no Echolink. It's officially only supported on Windows. However, there's apps on Android and Apple iOS. And there's some unofficial Linux plugins, and that's what we're using for ALLSTAR. So as I mentioned before, a little bit on Broadcastify. It's only a way to listen to the repeater. It'll be coming once we get everything set up and kind of proved out. We'll turn this feed on. You just go to radioreference.com and then live audio, and you could just kind of drill down to Oakland County, find our link, click it, and then be able to listen in. Right now, I think there's only a few other repeaters that are on Broadcastify. I think the Oakland County one is, and W8FSM, I think, is the other one that I've seen on there. So, yeah, that one's on for Macomb County. Yeah. I was just talking about the Oakland County for now, because yeah, that one's set up as ALLSTAR too. So that's like what we want to be like eventually, hopefully. So assume you want to use it from a radio, right? You don't want to use your phone or computer, and you want to use your radio to link in. Make sure that disconnect when you're done, especially if it's busy, as I mentioned before. And also try to maintain a good signal into it. If you have like a compromised antenna on like the low power HD inside of your car, you're not going to be getting into the repeater very well, just because your car is going to be blocking most of the signal. And if you are linked to a node, you don't want your scratchy, really bad audio that's unintelligible to be going out over multiple nodes. You do want to remember to use courteous radio practices. So, listen before you transmit. If someone's talking, don't just key up and connect to another repeater. Let them finish their conversation. Make sure the repeater's not in use, then connect. And the other thing too is kind of look before you leap. If you're not sure what you're linking into, there is a receive only mode. And what that does is you can hear the other side, but the other side can't hear you. So that'll kind of, prevent, anything on our repeater from going out onto another repeater until it's set to, full duplex mode. So in order to connect to another node, you'll need a node number, and that's analogous to a telephone number. We don't have ours set up yet for the new DART, but once we do have it, we'll publish it. It'll probably be once we have everything tested and working, just to avoid any gotchas with anyone connecting. From a PC or smartphone, you really don't need the node number. It'll just be like a plain English, either a call sign or description. However, on a radio, there's really no good way to look that information up. So you just have to remember the number and dial it in on your keypad. So if you go to ALLSTAR, allstarlink.org, they'll have a list of all the node numbers. Echolink has its node numbers available on Echolink. And there is a way to call an Echolink node from an ALLSTAR node. So if you wanted to connect directly to an Echolink node, you'd have to dial it a little bit differently. But again, it's kind of analogous to a area code for a phone number. So here's a list of the common commands. So if you want to connect to a node and only hear what's on the other node and not have your audio go to that node, you dial a *2 and then the node number. If you want to connect and be able to talk both ways, you dial the node number, but with a *3 before it. If you want to know what's actually connected, you could dial *70. If you wanted to unlink everything, *71. If you wanted to unlink just a specific node, you could do *1. And if you wanted to know what the time is, you could do a *81. And we'll probably publish a quick guide for this because I know it's kind of a lot to remember. So we'll have like a nice, phone book, as it were. So if you were on, this 442 repeater with a node number of 43078 and you wanted to connect to node 42993, you'd take your radio and key up and say, hey, AJ0WX, and then enter *3 42993. Again, kind of analogous to dialing a phone number. So if you don't hear any errors come back over the frequency, you're connected. And then you can just give your ID again. You'll transmit on both the 442 and the 5317 repeater. And then you could make your call and say, hey, I'm listening. So if you want to talk to someone locally, right, and you don't want to go out over the entire network, you could key up, again, say your call sign to properly ID, and then click *71, and that'll disconnect all of the link stations. If you want to know what's linked, beforehand, you just dial *70. So say you want to, there's a remote hub that you want to connect into that's in Australia, and you forgot what time zone they're in. You don't know if it's going to be busy. You don't know if it's going to be dead. So you want to start listening in before you key up or have anything on the repeater go out. You can key up and then dial *2, 27225, and then anything that you say on the local repeater will not go out to the remote link, but anything that they say on their end will come over. So that way you can kind of listen in, make sure the repeater's not in use, or if it is, to know like, hey, don't key up until there's a gap in that transmission. Once you kind of listen in and say, hey, I want to, connect both ways, you can dial *3 and then the number again in both ways. So if this is piqued your interest and you say, hey, this is I want to set up my own node for, if I'm, either at home or up north or wherever, you could actually build your own node. And essentially it's analogous to I guess, a cordless phone. So you'd have, your hotspot at your house. You can take your radio, key up on that hotspot frequency, and connect to the ALLSTAR network anywhere that you have internet access. So you could build your own. You could do, a nice, just low power simplex node. You could do a full-fledged repeater, which I will tell you is a lot of work. We're building one so you don't have to. And yeah, hopefully it'll work pretty well. But if you start using it and you like the ability to talk almost anywhere, and you say, hey, I don't want to tie up the repeater, you could build your own hotspot and be able to talk anywhere there's an ALLSTAR node from the comfort of your couch. So what do you need to actually build one of these? You'll need a Linux computer running Debian. Really, any old computer works. You could the one that we're actually using for the computer, I think, was new in like 2013, and it wasn't even state of the art back then, but it has more than enough power to do what's needed. So if you have any old computers, old Raspberry Pis, old laptops, it's perfect. Then you just need a way to interface the radio to that computer. They make devices for it. They're a little bit pricey, but it's plug and play. You just have to make sure you connect the radio right. Or if you're handy with a soldering iron, you could buy some cheap USB sound cards. You do have to do some surface mount soldering to pull out the lines for push to talk and all that. So it's a little bit more hands-on. RTCMs are another good option, but if you're not using them for voting system and a repeater, it really doesn't make sense because they're a lot more expensive than the sound card interfaces. And then of course you'll need a radio and then the interface cable as well, but those are usually pretty straightforward. You will have to use Linux to get it set up, so there are guides for that. AllStarLink.org has really good documentation if you did want to set up your own node. And that's kind of how I did everything on the repeater. So everything that I know about ALLSTAR, I've kind of taught myself over the past few months. So the website's great. There's forums with really good people on there. If you have questions, you usually get an answer within like 20 minutes. It's not really hard. It's just different. So it is definitely a interesting thing to kind of learn more about. So with that, that's all I had. If there's any questions on any repeater specifics or anything else on ALLSTAR that I might know, I might not know. So I might tell you to, make a form account and go online. But, yeah.
Yeah, I've got two questions for you.
Yep.
First, if I'm a Gabby guy and start talking a long time and I'm on a node and I hit the timer and the computer shuts off, what happens?
So that depends on each repeater's individual settings. So I think on ours, I have to double check to see how it's set up, but it has like a 3-minute timeout timer. So through and essentially stop playing the audio until it sees the unkey, and then it'll let you key back up after that. On the remote nodes, it depends on how they have it set up. You might have you might run into an issue where if they have like a short timeout timer, you'll be still transmitting on all the other linked nodes, but they might time out theirs, and so you only be going out on 2 of the 3 or 1 of the 3 or something like that.
Okay. Second question is, if we're going to have the remote stations going through the internet, what happens when the power goes out? Do we lose those?
So yeah, it depends. I'm not sure how they're set up today, if they have battery backups or not. If they do have battery backups, as long as we have a network connection, we're fine, which is why we want to migrate to the IP over microwave links in the future. But everything's set up in such a way that as long as everything powers back on, there's no configuration or manual connection needed. It's pretty robust in terms of, if even if you have like a blip in power, where if there is like a standby generator where, okay, the power is out for 5 seconds as the standby generator comes back up, it'll essentially lose connection and then reconnect once it has the ability to contact the main site.
I'm not sure whether, well,
Yeah.
the building that, the repeater is in does have emergency power. I'm not sure whether we're hooked up to that, but, anyway, that's a possibility. I doubt if the remotes have, emergency power.
Yeah, and so one thing to note about that is there's different levels of kind of failover built in. So if we lose any or all of the remote sites, there's really no impact other than we can't get any data from them. The main site will still function as normal. So say, you know, for example, you know, City Airport loses power or, you know, site there goes down, everything else will still function just fine. If we had a, you know, say catastrophic computer failure or anything like that, the RTCM will default, that's hooked up to the repeater, will default to a in-cabinet repeat. So you at least have a very basic repeater controller that'll still just do a local repeat. So you only have like the main site and you lose all of your ALLSTAR connectivity and all of that, but the repeater itself will still work. So
Okay.
that too on Saturday. So
WBNSBI has a question here. I'm on Zoom. Is there provision that someone brings up a link, they're using it, and then they go away, so they never turn it off? So is there a provision that if on the Dart side of the of whatever somebody did on the Dart, when it's not receiving a signal from either the main site or the remote sites for say 10 minutes, and I'm just picking up a number here, or 30 minutes, whatever, it's going to automatically deactivate the link. The purpose of that being that someone just can't turn on a link and go away and it stays hours and hours and hours.
yep. So kind of a little bit of clarification on the links themselves. The RTCM and voter links are a local link. So those will always be connected regardless of activity. In a case of linking to a remote system, say, you know, we wanted to connect to a repeater in California or something like that, connected to the repeater, talked, and then kind of left it and left it connected without any activity. There is a inactivity timer where after a configurable period of time, it'll disconnect all links unless you have an exception put in. So
Right.
if we wanted to link to the our UHF, we could put in a persistent link there where even if there's no activity, it'll still allow that link. But everything else, if there's no activity going to or from that link, it'll time out after a certain period of time and disconnect.
Right. So just to clarify, someone activates a full transceive link between here and California, and then they go away or they just don't say anything. But after a certain amount of time, we're still receiving data from California. So in that respect, the link, we're still listening to California. So it's not only, my question is not only the fact that whoever in Oak Park stops transmitting, but also when that link goes away, that they're not transmitting, that the receive link from California will also go away after a certain amount of time. Is that correct?
Yeah, as long as there's no traffic to or from, it'll disconnect.
So when you say to or from, okay, so what that means is somebody could activate a link. They're not transmitting here. They're in Oak Park. They're not transmitting at all. But 12 hours later, if that link is still, if somebody in California is still transmitting, we're still going to be receiving it and putting it out over the Dart. Is that correct?
Yeah, so if someone connects to a remote repeater and that remote repeater keeps keying up, that link will stay active because there's activity on it. If, you know, the link is dead and there's no activity on it for I want to say it's like 5 minutes or something like that, it'll disconnect.
All right. Next is a request. These slides were really, really good, and thank you for putting them together. And the request is, can we get them put up on the Hazel Park website, please?
Yeah, sure. I could send the, yeah, I think the presentation will be on YouTube. So, and that'll be good for the short term. And then, yeah, I'll send the files over to Ken to put up.
And the final comment is, or question is, when you are on Broadcastify, that thing can pick up not only amateur radio, but it could pick up, say, Michigan, Oakland County Fire Service or something like that, which is not an amateur radio system. So is there any filters on that system such
Yeah,
that?
it's receive only. So we basically push audio to Broadcastify, but we don't get anything from them. It's just we push our audio to them and that's it. We don't get anything from them.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's all I had at the moment. Thank you. Again, very good presentation.
Any other questions, comments?
I'm gonna use a repeater every week, at least once a week. Every day. Well, we know about you, Leslie. Very good. Oh, this. Great presentation.
The smartphone app we talked about being difficult for the ALLSTAR.
Oh, so I copied the presentation from a guy that posted it back in 2016 to share. And that's what he said back then. Is it good now? Okay, I think there was like a ALLSTAR specific one, but I think DV Switch has kind of fixed a lot of the drawbacks.
Sometimes you don't know because you're on your phone, you're not on radio, and you try to connect. There's any traffic on the computer at that particular time.
Yeah.
Right, give it a minute.
Yeah.
Please repeat the question. We didn't hear it. Didn't come
Oh,
over.
yeah. He was just asking about the smartphone app. The original ALLSTAR app, from what I've heard, wasn't that good, but other apps like DV Switch have improved capability.
This is the name of the app, DV Switch? Yes.
Yeah, DV Switch.
Andrew, DV Switch for Android works excellent.
Okay, it's good to know.
If I install the DV Switch for the smartphone, would I be able to connect to, say, the East Coast Reflector Morning Brew? Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so the question was DV Switch, can you use it on the phone app to connect to, East Coast Reflector? And the answer was yes. Okay, so we'll go back to our normally scheduled program here.
Well, just like when you get a new car, these new cars have all these functions, features in them. We'll have to work out maybe some bugs and learn out some techniques. And so it's the new digital functions on it bring up a whole new set of features that we haven't had before. That's the whole purpose of why we're promoting.
As I mentioned, so you don't have to remember all the different commands. You'll just have a list of, if I wanted to dial out or if I wanted to dial out listen only. It depends on how it's set up on the ALLSTAR side, because you could basically send either star, like ABC, like any of the DTMF tones, you can set as like your command character. So that actually might be something, if they're actually setting it up that way, we might be able to commonize just so you don't have to do two different things for two different local repeaters. That is good to know. I've been talking with Sean a little bit on how to get everything set up, so it's been a good help with that.
Sean meets with us on Saturday mornings. He also sets up the whole Macomb County system. He's responsible for that. Plus, he has his own system. He's a professional. That's what he does for a living, is manage a whole bunch of repeaters and police departments and fire departments and the city of Warren, I think. But yeah, he has repair. Yeah. Well, he has repairs. It's just not lost. So, any other comments or questions? Okay, like we said, this whole presentation is available on YouTube. John, TOY, is putting these presentations on YouTube. So look it up and you can play it back and regain it. Excellent job. You really went through it nice and smooth, Andrew.
Thanks.
And we really appreciate it.
It should be on YouTube within a day or so. I got some personal problems that are going on right now, so it might be an extra day, but it'll within a couple days, the presentation by itself will be on YouTube.
Well done, Andrew.
Thank you.
Bob, do you have anything on their financial report that we need to know about?
Not really. For the month of January, there was no financial activity on the repeater project. And for our co-op activity, there was just the normal stuff. We have, of course, we renewed our insurance policy, we renewed our Zoom account, and we had our normal phone line expense for the repeater. I think that was about it.
How do we pay our membership?
What?
How do we pay for our membership?
Yeah,
The online.
Yeah, the PayPal broke.
Or bring a check here.
Oh, okay.
With the check.
Yeah, if y'all remember, but you remember in, it was either November or December, we were getting spam on our PayPal account for the, on our website. Within a period of about a week and a half, we had 150 or so, a little over 150 bogus entries into our PayPal system that was supposedly someone joining as a youth member for $10, but there was no money attached to it. But we were getting dozens of these per day, and that's why we had to shut it off for a while. I think at some point we should probably turn it back on.
Yeah,
that's not.
I was gonna see if there's a way to turn the PayPal back on, but just put like a CAPTCHA or like some kind of a challenge in there, so a bot can't just do like 20 requests. So
everybody, if you want to renew your membership, send a check to us.
Or bring it to the meeting.
Bring it to the meeting.
Or the Saturday breakfast.
Saturday breakfast would be great. That leads me to another thing. Join us on Saturday mornings at the Cozy Cabin. It's a restaurant there on the Walmart Road, just east of the Quinter Road. And we have favor from, well, last week we only had 8 because of some other activities going on, but normally we have between 12 and 20 guys who join us. Always room for any more.
Question.
Question.
How do we know when our memberships are up, or do they all expire at the same time?
They usually you have your own personal anniversary. I'm not sending out notices, at least not yet. It's more in the honor system. If you look on the website, you'll see your anniversary date.
Okay.
Look it up.
Thank you.
Otherwise, but we appreciate you being on top of that. Let's see here. Let's see, I'm talking for the mentor committee right now. We do have a number of guys that have volunteered to be a part of the mentor committee. We haven't had a real meeting yet. I haven't signed that. That's something I got to work on. And if you or you know somebody that needs some help setting up a computer or on the radio, like a HP, a new hand, this is what we're shooting for. And if you want to be a part of our conversational roundtable, how many have heard us on the conversational roundtable? Half of you here. I'm sure there's a few on the Zoom. We appreciate you being part of it, and we've had a lot of positive comments about it, so we appreciate the encouragement. Field day. How many plan on coming to field day this year? Good. John's not here. He's our field day chairman. I think he'll be, we haven't really talked about it, but I assume it's going to be at the same place it was last year in,
Scout
Park there in, 9 Mile and, see, John R, it's just east of John R, I think it is, so if you've been there before, be there again.
March 1st, depending on that reserve it, so we don't even have the reservation there yet.
We don't have the reservation yet. Oh,
You're not allowed to.
we got a little experience on that. I heard that the year before I joined, they, no one signed up for it or got.
Someone signed up the wrong week.
Oh. Yeah, let's see here. We do have our DART meetings on Monday nights. Pretty full plate there, but the best thing is if you want to listen to it and find out what's happening with the DART repeater, John, TOI, posted probably a day or two later on the YouTube, so you can find out there what's happening with the DART. We do have an online store, a website. We're working on that again, so we can take payments. Here again, this is all voluntary, so we're in the process of reviving the payment system. And let's see, the video library. Oops. Is there anything on a video library? Anybody know anything about a video library?
Yeah, it's the one you just talked about with the YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, okay. John, you want to say anything about the video library or the availability or anything? Just look at HPARC on YouTube. Yeah. Any siren testing news or anybody participate in siren testing here?
Wrong season.
Wrong season? Oh, it's down here, so I'm just going through it.
And just for those of you that don't know, since I know we have some new members, for Oakland County, when they do the monthly tornado siren test, they have to make sure each of the sirens is working every year. Birds get in there, trees grow in front of it. Sometimes they break. So what they do is they have hams kind of go to each siren on each Saturday. You just kind of sit there, you watch it turn around for 3 minutes, I believe it is, and then assuming there's no birds inside or everything works as expected, you just radio that in, say, hey, everything's good. Or if there's an issue, you radio, hey, this one needs some work. So
how many here have participated in a siren test? Okay, good. If you're interested, let us know. You don't have to be a ham to participate in a siren test.
Yeah, you can do it by email too.
You can do it by email, by your phone. So
it's more fun with the radio, though.
Yeah, more fun with the radio. That's right. So, all right. Well, we mentioned about the buddy breakfast. And is there any questions or comments that you thought about? Our guest here, do you have any? Do we have any technician classes coming up? You mentioned a little bit about it before.
That's not going to be till September.
Okay, September. Okay. So, if we can help you get started without the lessons, there's some ways that if you're interested in getting going, and I'll talk to 2 people here that would like to get their license and get going on it. If you buy the ARRL manual, that is a great way to start. And then you get online and take the exams, either with ARRL.
Len, also remind them that for the technician class and the general class, we recorded the fall sessions and they are available out on YouTube. Go to Jerry's W9 NPI channel, and the lessons are all out there from our September through December classes.
I'll try to talk to TOY about migrating them over to the Hazel Park website as well.
It'll be world famous.
And then as far as the testing goes, do we have someone pick up the VE testing on the first Tuesday of every even month?
Yes, actually Jim Merrick, and his call sign is, I'm sorry, I don't remember his call sign, but Jim Merrick on other hand.
Okay.
Picked up the testing.
Okay, cool.
And it's right here.
Oh, nice.
It's going to start at 6 o'clock, first Tuesday of every even month.
Even month, okay.
That's how it's going to set up.
Yep, so 2 months to study for anyone that wants to upgrade.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the book is going to be obsolete in June.
Yes.
So wait till after June to get the book.
Unless you want to make it be right.
Or, you know,
Yeah.
well, there's a couple sources of getting the apprentice exams. And frankly, that's how I did it. I went through the exams. And if you have the book, they'll give you the question. If you miss the question, they'll tell you and you just look it up in a book and give you a full explanation.
Yeah.
And after that, you probably get it every time. Yep.
Yeah, ham study. Yeah, that's what I use for my extra.
The only thing is you don't remember the A, B, and C.
Yeah, remember the answer, not the letter. Yeah.
You gotta know the answer, not the A, B, and C, because they'll mix them up. So anyway, any announcements? Ourselves?
Yeah, so if there was a request out to ARL members, they're looking for people to operate AW/8, which will be February 18th to February 24th from Michigan. It was in the email who you have to contact to sign up for that. There is a Livonia Club swap that is on the 21st of this month. And if you're interested in joining ARL through the club or renewing your membership through the club, there are forms in the back.
Yep. Jerry?
Okay, I've got one thing I have to stand up for. How many people operate on 60 meters, 5 megahertz band? Nobody? On occasion. On occasion. Okay, this is something that has not been promulgated very much, mentioned in ARL website, but as of February 13th, they are eliminating, what is it, channel 3. There's 53, 57 or thereabouts. That channel is going to be eliminated, and the 15 kilohertz around it are going to be open to anyone tuning anywhere around that particular channel. The other trick is this is getting us the U.S. online with I guess the rest of the world, the frequency assignments. The only really complication there is that you're going to have to run 9.1 watts ERP. Before we had 100 watts and that channel. So
what's the wattage again? Just drop down. Wattage again?
Yeah, 9.1.
9.1, but it's ERP. It's not even like it's a weird way of calculating it because
I have a non-resident antenna with loops all over the place, so it's going to be very difficult for me to figure out what the wattage is. But and anyway, what's going to happen? Like I couldn't sleep last night, so 2 a.m. I got on the air on 60 meters, and I talked to 3 French stations. So you can really do a lot of DXing on it. So I think they're going to try to find another channel from the other channels
more channels,
which allows us to use 100 watts rather than this 9.1. 60 meter. You can still get out, but it's a little more difficult.
So what happened was we had 5 channels that were specific channels that you were allowed 2.8 kilohertz wide, like sideband, but it was only those discrete channels, and we were allowed 100 watts. Now they set there's this band where we can work anywhere within that band. We're not stuck to one channel, but for that band section, 9.1 ERP watts is the limit. So that took out one of the 5 channels because it's included in that band, but the other channels remain as 100 watts. So it's a kind of a weird compromise that happened. Hopefully it'll get cleaned up in some way, some point.
Yeah, but right now, nobody's talking about it. I searched around and we'll figure out if you have, 15 kilohertz segment, you have X number of actually channels or signals that that little band can operate.
Yeah, but more than one.
Mm-hmm. But since most of you don't work that band,
yeah,
it's a moot point.
Very good. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Well, I think that's about it. Any questions, any last comments? Yes, Wes.
Yeah, just briefly about the Livonia swap. It's being held at the Ward Church, it's a mega church on 6 Mile Road, about a quarter mile west of I-275. I went last year and it was a pretty good swap.
I agree.
And it's Saturday the 21st.
Everybody I hear, talk to, are going. Anybody here planning going?
Maybe.
How's it going? Wes? I'll see if I get my allowance, you know.
You will get there too early.
No, it's only between 8 and 12, so it doesn't go all day, so. It's only between 8 and 12. I guess you're gonna be doing.
Yes, you will be taking care.
Okay. Thanks for everybody coming out. I think that's about it for tonight. Appreciate everybody tuning in on Zoom, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you.
Yep. See you guys.